Hello, everybody, and welcome to Left Hand, Right Brain. I hope this podcast finds you well, and I know I've been saying it basically every episode for the past, 100 episodes. For all your likes and subscribes, your rates and reviews, appreciate. But I have been taking a deeper look into the analytics of the podcast, the back end stuff. And I've noticed that the vast majority of people who do listen to the podcast, and I do appreciate every listen, but these people aren't subscribed or liking any of the videos. So as a personal favor to me, if you've gotten anything from this podcast at all, if you're a member of the Brain Trust, which I hope all of you consider yourselves, I would really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. It helps more than I can say. I really want to make this into something I can do full time. And I promise you, if you can hit that subscribe, those likes from me, it doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me make this podcast even better, which in turn will benefit you, dear listener. I can get better equipment, but also I can continue to get high quality, great guests on this podcast. So, as a personal favor to me, pretty please, with the cherry on top, will you do that for me? Because appreciate. All right, and if you want to see me doing some stand-up comedy, I'm going to be on Jokes and Jams this Friday, September 29th. I think the show starts at 7:30. Yeah, and that's going to be at Max Tap. Let me just double check my phone here. Yeah, Max Taps, 7:30, Friday, September 9th. All right. That's Ethan Everhart's new show. So comics will come on. They'll do some stand-up for you. And then they sing a song with his band, Solar Flare Sunset. So I picked Push by Matchbox 20, made very popular recently by the Barbie movie. I may or may not be dressed as Ken. So you got to come to see that in its full glory, guys. It's going to be a good time. So be there or be square. Okay, that brings us to this week's podcast, which is a very special guest, Neyla Pekarek. All right, a very big get for me. Thank you so much, Neyla, for being on. She is a singer, songwriter, playwright. You may know her as the former cellist from the Lumineers. She's put out a solo album recently called Rattlesnake Kate. Very good. She's also written a musical called Rattlesnake Kate. That's amazing. She's working on a new one as we speak. She's doing very cool stuff in Colorado and all over the place. We met fairly recently at a mutual friend's party, and she was down to do the podcast, which I appreciate. She does talk about, in the podcast, she refers to herself as a yes and soul. And golly gee, do I appreciate that. So thanks so much, Neyla, for taking the time to come on the pod. I had a great time talking to you. We get into the Lumineer stuff, how she got into it, how she got out of it, what she's doing now. I'll let you guys listen to it. I'm done with the intro. Let's get to this week's LHRB podcast, part of Mile High Life, produced by Left and Right Brain Productions.
Wear a funny hat. I always wear that cool hat, but it's good because with these headphones on.
Yeah, headphones.
And I was wearing one
not
today.
Conducive.
Yeah.
I can't do both.
Yeah, I have like a cool Stetson I wore for the show this morning,
Stetson.
but yeah, I didn't wear it.
Do you have a hat preference?
I mean, I love Stetson or
no
something.
Brand. You're not
kinda.
brand loyal.
No,
not brand loyal. I mean, like you're not sponsored by
I'm
a brand.
not sponsored by a hat.
A Stetson hat brand or anything like that.
No, maybe one day. Maybe after this podcast, we will.
Yeah,
both
would it be Stetson for you? You think?
I mean, they've got a lot of good hats, and the one I have, I really like. But I don't know.
I mean, it is a classic brand. Everybody's like, is that a Stetson? When I do go out with my hat, people are like,
they ask.
Yeah, is that a Stetson?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Rodeo King, if anybody cares.
That's great. Yeah. I care. I do.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, so you said you were at Potato Days earlier. What's Potato Days?
It's wild. It's an event that Greeley, the city of Greeley, hosts every year, I guess, the second week of September. And it's held at Centennial Village, which is a little historical spot in Greeley. I don't know if you've been, but
I've been everywhere in Greeley.
Well,
right?
sure.
That's where I was born and raised.
Yes.
All right.
Lucky you.
Well, that's the first time anybody said that.
I do have a soft spot in my heart for Greeley, but Centennial Village is like a historical little like park that has kind of meaningful buildings from the early settlers of Greeley.
Is that where like the Meeker
the Meeker House is not on the
Meeker House,
property,
yeah,
but it's kind of affiliated with all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
okay.
Rattlesnake Kate's little farmhouse is on the property
Gotcha.
there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I went and played a 45-minute solo set at 10 o'clock in the morning. I mostly had the people who were playing in the big band after me in the audience, and they were very anxious to get up on stage. So they were just kind of like looking at their watches as I was pouring my heart out.
Yeah. Do you find performing music is better when the sun's down? Because like in comedy, everyone's like, sun up comedy, terrible.
Yeah.
It's never going to be good.
I think that's right. People are a little more loosey-goosey.
Especially in the morning.
In the morning.
AM music.
Yeah, just people
performing.
noshing on baked potatoes at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Is that just like all different types of potatoes?
They just had baked potatoes.
Only
which,
baked potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably an easy prep for a large group of people, but it's not the potatoes' finest way, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you prefer? A fried?
Yeah, like a tot, you know?
Ooh, a
I think that's
tot,
probably the
okay.
best way to do
Not
a potato.
the French way.
I love the French way too. I'm not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
turn them down, but if I have the choice of a tot
Yeah.
or a French,
Yeah.
going for the tot.
Yeah, I love a Universal. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Oh, yeah,
They
delicious.
do a great breakfast, but the potatoes, they're
Yeah.
just like they neglect the potato
Willy-nilly.
there.
They just chop them up, oil
yeah.
them down.
Yeah, I mean you gotta have some pride in your
Yes.
potato.
I usually go for grits there, I think, for that reason, which are great.
Grits is what
but-
everyone says, but you know, I was never really raised with grits or
Sure.
anything like that. Did you have grits as a kid?
My mom liked them, but I mean, I grew up here too, so it wasn't like a Colorado delicacy.
Yeah. Grits were never
It's a southern
grits,
thing.
collard greens, things like that were never in
No.
my
Yeah.
lexicon. Is that the right one?
Sure. Yeah, I like
Thank
them
you,
now,
thank
but
you.
yeah, we didn't grow up with them.
Yeah, grits. And I always like a savory oats thing is never been on my palate. I'm a sweet
Interesting.
boy.
Oh,
I
interesting.
love a good sweet.
Yes.
What do you think? Pie or cake? We're gonna get into the lightning round right now.
I
Are you
love
going with pie or cake.
I'd say more of a pie person.
Yeah.
But it
Custard, fruit,
probably custard, right?
a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds
thank you.
great. 'Tis the
All right,
season.
you're killing it with all
Great.
these. I mean, you're
I love to
nailing
eat.
everything.
It's
mean,
all
who doesn't?
food based.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, so with Rattlesnake Kate, what do you think her favorite pie was? Because
I
everyone
mean-
comes to you as the Rattlesnake Kate, like,
Well,
expert now, right? You're very associated.
I'm honored to be so.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
good.
I
It's a
think
good
I was
thing.
described as the Rattlesnake Kate aficionado at Potato Day today.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, delighted to be that. She was a pretty simple gal.
Like a meat pie.
Yeah, maybe.
She's like, anything that's gonna get me through the day.
I can't really imagine her indulging in a lot of things,
Yeah.
but like a banana was a rarity.
Wow. Banana cream.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, so let's reel it back into we're both from I'm from Greeley originally.
Yes.
Were you raised in Greeley?
I was raised in Aurora. I went
Okay.
to school in Greeley, but
Greeley,
people often
gotcha.
think I'm from Greeley because of this
I mean,
Rattlesnake
that's where
Kate
your
connection.
origin story started, though. I mean,
Yeah.
even with the Lumineers stuff. I mean,
In some ways,
you're tied in there
Yes.
because you're going to UNC.
I was going
Paint
to
the
UNC.
picture for us, please.
Sure. Yes, I went to UNC. I started as a musical theater major,
Okay.
and
As we all do.
as we all do, then we all learn we can't tap dance, except for
that
the people who
Part
can.
of it
You got to be a good dancer.
for music.
For musical theater.
Theater. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking musician.
No, and I think that's where I got confused. Is like
Ah.
I think I was a musician first, but I like musicals a lot and I like theater a lot. But I didn't. There was a lot of pressure to be what they call a triple threat, where you can like sing and dance and act and do all the things, and I just wasn't great at basically the moving part. I can like sit and sing a song quite nicely. But I ended up getting a music ed degree when I finished my days in Greeley, which wasn't like totally just a backup plan. I did like really enjoy teaching and had very meaningful teachers in my life. But I graduated and did not get a job. Graduated during the Great Recession.
Oof.
And I was subbing, but I answered a Craigslist ad like a couple weeks after I graduated
Yeah.
to meet these like two bozos in their basement.
Yeah, I can't imagine if I saw, because I, growing up in Greeley, I was around the UNC campus and all that jazz.
Sure.
If I just saw an ad for like, hey, come join our band, I would
I
have rolled my
know.
eyes
Absolutely.
and like kept going. But you answered it, and this
I
is like the start. I
did.
mean, this is the start of the movie right here.
That's right.
Kind of scene.
Yeah, and it did happen in Denver.
It was for
not.
cello.
It was
okay.
yeah.
I was thinking this was like in the common hall of UNC. You walk
No,
by.
that would be kind of dreamy.
Right. Yeah.
But
I mean,
no.
this is where we're setting it if we're making a movie.
Yeah, let's just change some of the details.
What's the coffee house right now off of campus?
Margie's.
Yeah, Margie's. Exactly. That's exactly where I would picture it.
Absolutely. I used to live above the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so I was at Margie's all the time.
Yeah. It's a very hip coffee place.
Very hip. Close to campus.
That was too cool for me.
Yeah.
When I was growing up there. So I was like, if you lived on top of there, like you wouldn't have talked to me back then.
I mean, no, for sure.
I was also trying very hard. I was like, I'd read the game and I was like, I'm trying to be this pickup artist guy. I mean, I was trying so hard.
The game. Wow, that's great.
Thank you. Most people don't say that.
No,
so you're obviously a fan.
No, I think I just appreciate the effort as a young person, like really trying to.
I found it at not a Barnes and Noble. What was the other one?
Borders.
Borders. Yep, I found it at a Borders in Greeley, and I was like, I thought this was the holy grail.
Yes, I remember the Borders.
Clouds parted. Light came down, and they're like, all your problems are over, kid. You found the game in high school.
That. I mean, so impressionable,
Oh yeah.
I think I got lucky that I found the right people that were weirdos, just like I was. And
musical theater is a group.
Absolutely.
You're in a cult.
Yes, correct. I was talking to people about being in sororities and fraternities, and it wasn't technically one, but we did have built-in friendship when we first got to school.
Yeah.
And I'm still close with so many of those people, and we were wild. It was great.
Wild is, yeah.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
I mean, in college is when I got into theater as my minor, and I did a couple plays, and then I realized then that I wasn't wild enough for the theater crowd.
Got it.
I mean, they all kept it under wraps. They're all very professional through the rehearsal process, the show. It was the after party.
Mm-hmm.
People were making out.
Yes.
It was a lot of drinking going on.
Absolutely.
I was like, I'm scared.
That's good for you.
This is too much for me.
I think I was too wild for those parties.
You were?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love all of that. Still do, pushing 40, still love to go wild.
A solo set after a Spuds.
Potato Days.
Yeah, Potato Days. It's just craziness.
Absolutely. Yes. No, it was a blast. I made some good friends for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, those are lifelong friendships.
Yes.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Okay, so you found the the thing in Denver.
Yes, I was in Denver, and I just moved back in with my parents in Aurora.
Straight.
Let's set it straight. I know. I mean that band still will claim Denver as home, but they actually they were born and raised in New Jersey.
Yeah, the two guys.
Yes.
I don't even know their
the guys
names.
with the
like
hats.
You.
Oh my gosh.
You're the one to me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. They wear hats too. In fact, I wasn't allowed to wear a hat in that band because they already
no hat.
Yeah, they already filled the quota. There's already one too many. No hat, no vest. So now I just only wear hats.
You get the chair and the cello and the hat.
No, they placed a Craigslist ad for two guys that just moved from New York City, New Jersey.
Right.
Looking
trying to sound cooler than they are already.
Totally.
Total Jersey.
Looking for a cellist, and honestly, they had in their minds because a friend said to them, you should try to get a cello player in your band, but they had never really experienced that instrument, and they thought it was just a bass, interchangeable.
Okay.
And I also had never been in a band. I'd been
experienced a cello.
I had experienced a cello, but only in orchestra, dorchestra settings. I was in barbershop quartets and absolutely
that's where you experience it.
Yes. And of course there were bands out there at that time like the Avett Brothers and whatnot, that had cellists playing in these mainstream setups, but I hadn't considered it for myself. But I was in that yes and spirit of a newly graduated theater kid.
You were following The Secret.
That's right.
Open to these things.
Absolutely. And mostly just looking for anything to get me out of the house.
I was curious, were you putting anything out there I want to do something like this, putting it out there to the universe, or is it just really
and no.
It just came to you?
Yes and no. I think I was really saying yes to everything at that time.
Okay.
I had lots of odd jobs. I was gigging, playing wedding gigs, and
Singing mostly?
Singing, playing cello, all the things. I was like babysitting. I was working at a restaurant. And, like all my friends were in bands, and I was going to shows a lot.
Yeah, yeah. You know In the Whale?
I sure know In the Whale.
Yeah.
Greeley guys.
Yep, Greeley guys.
Love those guys.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
I used to prank Nate Valdez a lot. Prank
interesting.
call him.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I had a mischievous little pal, also from Greeley, born and raised, Brian Gonzalez. And we used to
The
prank.
name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's mischievous. And
Okay.
we would prank Nate Valdez all the time. I think Nate knows that. And if he doesn't, I hope he listens to this episode. And
Yeah, I think he
I'm
did
sorry.
the intro song.
Oh, he did.
I never give anybody him
my
enough credit, but he did the intro song
God.
for me.
What a sweetie pie.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Gonna be a dad. Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll prank the baby too.
Yeah. You should
Just
prank him.
Call him
Should
up.
switch the babies in the hospital or something. We're
Yeah.
not gonna do that.
No,
Sorry, that might be a
my
little
pranking
too
days
much.
are over.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
too hard now. The internet's much
Too
better.
hard to call people.
That's right. I'm a millennial.
I do love a good phone call though. Do you find that at all? Do you like talking to people on the phone, or do you hate it?
I like it when it's like my people, like my sister and I will talk on the
Yeah.
phone. But if I get a call from like someone that is a professional person or like the bank or
Oh yeah, yeah.
I never answer
New
a call.
friends at all? Do
New
you find-
friends.
Would
I
that
mean,
be-
maybe a new friend. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay.
I think I like it
I won't call you.
generally.
All right.
Well,
I was testing. the
Let's
waters.
see.
No,
Let's
no,
try it out. This
no,
is
we
like a phone
texted
call.
a little bit, yeah, but
Yeah.
call is a investment most people don't want to make these days. I feel
Yeah.
like.
I don't mind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna call him. Just
Call me.
I think you're like, I don't want to give him too much encouragement here. Okay, yeah. So, sorry, we got off track a little bit. So you
Join
get
the
this,
band.
yeah. So you see this Craigslist ad.
Yes.
It's not one of those like pull off sticker things on a dartboard.
No, I think it said something about like.
So you're trolling Craigslist.
I was trolling Craigslist. Honestly, I was. I was looking for like wedding gigs, and this was like 2010.
Okay, yeah.
Craigslist was like it's a little bit of a different place.
Oh, yeah. Not
at
as-
that time
yeah,
as now.
That's-
like I was finding roommates on Craigslist and like using Craigslist
That's
frequently.
that's how I found my first apartment here in
Yeah,
Denver. Was
we didn't
Craigslist.
have Instagram yet.
Nope.
Can you believe it? Facebook was still like only a college thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild.
I recently did a 10-year anniversary pod with my friend Joanna Muley. Maybe you know her.
Sure.
Yeah. We started a podcast called JDJO way back in like 2013, and we're talking about Twitter and Vine. As if
Yes,
we're like, I don't know how to use these things. Like, what a crazy
I
And
love
so
it.
the innocence of it, I
The
thought was cute.
innocence. I know. It's complicated now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole new world.
Whole new world.
Yeah, but we didn't have those tools back then, so Craigslist was a more common thing.
Yes. And I think they had said something. I mean, first of all, they were looking for a cellist specifically, which I was like, this is neat. This
Yeah,
is in my
yeah.
skill set. But also that they said something like, don't like only serious musicians apply. Like it said something very like intense,
Yeah,
but I was
yeah.
like, whatever, I'll just try it out. And truly, like it was a nice little fit right at the start. I met them in their basement in the middle of the day, but they were
All
like
red
dudes.
flags, but yeah.
Yes, all red flags for sure. But they were dudes that like had coffee ready to go and like an agenda on the wall, and they were not like looking to like jam. They had a plan, and they seemed very motivated.
Did they already have the name?
They already had the name, but only for like a couple of weeks before I'd met them. They got
Okay.
it like bestowed upon them by accident. They were introduced as the Lumineers. That I guess that band was supposed to play like the next week,
Oh,
and then they were just
okay.
like, "Cool name."
Nice. Okay. Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. It's all coming together.
Yeah,
So the universe providing.
that's right. The universe providing.
I don't know if you're into that. Am I really pushing that on you?
No, so I'm a
You're
Virgo.
like, I'm an atheist.
I am
don't
an
believe in
atheist.
anything.
I'm pretty atheist, but I'm a Virgo, so all that feels very like grounded and
good.
like
Yeah,
no
yeah.
nonsense. But I got a Libra rising,
Virgo is earth sign.
Earth sign.
Libra is
Like
fire.
is it fire?
I can look it up.
I'm bad at knowing that part. But what I know about Libras are they're kind of like peacekeepers, and they're kind of like golden retrievers. A little more whimsy. Air sign. That makes sense.
That
Yeah.
totally makes
Yeah.
sense.
So it balances me out a little bit.
Yeah, from the earth. Yeah, I'm an earth sign. I'm heavy earth. I'm all like,
Mm,
give me the nuts and bolts of this.
that's
How's it gonna
right.
go? What's the plan?
What's the plan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your sign?
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Great.
So I think we connect on that.
Totally.
Yeah, we're both very grounded.
Grounded.
Yeah.
Colorado too, I think.
Yes.
Grounded people
for
from here.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you answer it, you're jamming.
Answer it, we're
You
jamming.
have your own cello.
I have my own cello, but
You're not renting.
no, but it was like my childhood cello. Like I hadn't
right.
played it a lot because I had studied voice and like theater in school.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about with this last album you did, the Rattlesnake one.
Yes.
I'm like, you're going for it with the vocals. I feel like you're almost like trying to prove something. You're like, hey, I'm more than cello. Listen to this. And you're like, going
yes
up
and no.
down.
Part of it's like that's the way I sing. I don't do a lot of things halfway in my life generally.
Nice.
That's
a clip.
And part of it is like, so I'm really involved in like barbershop quartets, which I think is like acrobatic singing. It's very athletic singing because you're providing all of the sounds. Like it's an a cappella art form. And like a lot of the things that make barbershop exciting are like how long people can hold a note and like how loud people can sing in a healthy way and all these things. And so part of it's just like the way I like to sing. Also what thrills me when I'm watching a singer, like I like people who are belting their faces off. It thrills me.
Yeah.
But you might be right that like I think a lot of people know me from the band and I wasn't really allowed to sing in the band or wear a hat.
They really put you in a box.
Yes. And so especially getting like very, the band was popularized for that song Ho Hey, where like I didn't do anything in that song except shout hoes and hays and like I have a vocal degree. Yeah. And that's fine. Like I'm grateful for it. But maybe there's some truth to what you're saying of trying to prove.
No, I was impressed. I mean, it floored me. Well, I was like, it stood out to me anyway. So I thought
I appreciate that. I mean, I don't like a show off, so I gotta toe that line.
No, I think show off is. I mean, is that something you think about when you're performing? I mean, because you are showing off in a way.
Well,
I mean, you're performing, you're going for it.
Perhaps
you have to let go of that inhibition, right?
Yeah, I struggle with it sometimes because first of all, I've always been anti-show off. I had a club as a child called the Show Off Club.
Oh.
And would find show offs and you'd have to show off back to them to make sure you put them in their place, I guess. I had a friend. I get that. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I relate to my
it.
childhood best friend, Caitlin Tomlinson, we would like go grab this tote bag and we'd like, oh, you're like, she had her god brother Keegan would come over. They were like, I don't know what that means, a god brother. I guess like something to do with baptism.
Yeah.
Like her godparents.
Your godparents, their son.
Anyway, Keegan would come over. And we would be like, oh, Keegan's coming, get the tote bag. Because Keegan was a major show off. And in the tote bag were things like empty Dr. Pepper cans. Because then you'd pull them out and be like, delicious Dr. Pepper. And you'd show off back to Keegan to really ground him.
To really show him what's what.
Yeah, so I don't want to be a show off, but I wonder sometimes in this industry if you have to be a little bit of a show off to be successful.
Oh yeah, I feel like the peacocks with the biggest feathers. I mean, get the attention. Yeah, that's for sure.
It's challenging.
Yeah, I mean, something for me with comedy. I mean, the guys that are the loudest,
totally.
Maybe not necessarily have the cleverest jokes or anything like that. It's just like the guys who are high-fiving the crowds, getting really energetic. I mean, those guys are the ones getting booked.
That's true. But then I think about people like Tig Notaro. Like, she's so low energy in this lovely way.
Yeah.
So people are doing it the other way too. But you're right. It's hard to like not be the noisiest one in the room sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, I feel like it's hard to get noticed if you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Are you an only child, or is there like
I have a sister. She's delightful.
Like, don't outshine your sister. And is this where this don't show off thing? Oh yeah, where does that come from?
That's a great question. I think my dad is like a pretty he's kind of a curmudgeon-y person. He's always been that way, and he hates seeing someone like at a stoplight when they're jogging and they like keep jogging in place to keep their heart rate up. Like he hates things like that. So I think it's definitely from my dad.
He's watching people. He's noticing things.
Yeah. He's like a cool guy.
Okay.
He's got like sort of like a Keith Richards / like Larry David vibe.
I've never heard those two put together.
It's like he's like cool like Keith Richards, but kind of like curmudgeon-y and funny like Larry David. Okay. Same age group as well. He's late 70s. And he's always just kind of been like a cool guy. Like he doesn't make dad jokes. He's just like cool.
Right, yeah.
But my mom is
daughter,
like,
but okay.
Yeah. My mom, however, is bonkers. Like she's like cuckoo bananas, and so the combination I think
like
is
performing.
She's performing,
Like
yeah.
like
She
big.
she hasn't she didn't like have a career in it, but she still will say like if she auditioned for Saturday Night Live today, she would get on the show.
She has characters.
Yes, she's got one called Wanda Wallflower that she brings out
Okay,
sometimes.
yeah.
I still don't really understand the plot, but she's wild.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
you came from a funny and performative kind of family.
At least from my mom. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
dad's pretty
Well, your dad,
shy,
I guess,
but
was
like
getting the funny stuff.
yes, yeah.
Sense
He's
of
funny, but
humor.
like quiet funny.
Okay,
Yes.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So you play with these guys in their basement.
Play with these guys
and
in their
immediately
basement.
they're like,
They're
"Come
like,
on
cool,
board."
you're in. Yeah. And again, I think like we were all at that age, like we were all in our early 20s, just like the yes and of what's gonna happen. And it was like 8 months later that we like booked our first self tour. It was just like
Everything
DIY.
happened really quickly for you guys, right?
It sure did. And it was just like so much of that preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah,
Like there was so much luck in the air for sure of just like the world was like crazy for folk music all of a sudden where it was like
Yeah.
Mumford and Sons.
Yeah. Mumford
And
Sons.
and we were making the kind of music that people were connecting with.
Yeah.
But we also were in a place where we were like, yep, we're like not gonna have apartments. We're just gonna get in a minivan and we're gonna like tour as much as possible. And just like bought into it like together, like believing in this thing and throwing like every iron in the fire, saying yes to absolutely everything. And I think like that's not necessarily like this plus this equals this, but I do think, especially as a young person starting out, it's a good philosophy of just like say yes to things that aren't always like tailor made for you of what you thought you'd be doing. And yeah, that was like the fall of 2010 was our first tour. And like 2 years later, like 2012, we were like nominated for Grammys and like touring in Europe and like doing all these crazy things. It happened super fast.
Yeah. 'Cause I guess in all the interviews and stuff I watched, you guys were talking about how fast it happened.
Yes.
And I was thinking about, the Beatles, being in 10 years in Hamburg, before they, hit or whatever, like even overnight successes aren't overnight kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, they were certainly, I mean, all of us were, working on our crafts for a very long time before then. Especially like Wes and Jared had been playing in many bands together prior to coming to Denver. And I was in, barbershop quartets.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Perfecting.
athleticism of a barbershop quartet I thought was interesting.
Yeah, vocal acrobats.
Because it's like the air you're using, the way you have to be kind of athletic in the way your lungs are moving.
I think so.
Pushing the music.
I think in terms of like vocals, vocal things, whether it's like opera or musical theater or other a cappella groups or rock music or whatever, I do think it's the art form that like so much is reliant on like really pristine singing because there's nothing behind you to kind of cover it up. Even in another a cappella group, you've got like vocal percussionists and things, and barbershop is so like nothing is hidden in terms of like error, and so there's very small room for that.
Okay, interesting. But and so you're drawn to that? Do you feel like you have a athletic thing you're getting out through that? Like
I am
competitive. I guess when I think athletics, I think competition.
Yes, there is such a competitive element to barbershop, which I've grown out of that a little bit as I've gotten older, although I'm still involved. Like I'm going to a big competition first week in November with my quartet.
Yeah, you have a quartet.
We're called Clever Girl.
There it is. Yeah, I was waiting for the name.
Bunch of gals who are so good at this. And I've been in many quartets over many years, and this is the first one I feel like I've been in that like we are all equally nerdy about this. Like our whole lives are like it's whatever the barbershop is. And we found each other, and it's really lovely.
Clever Girl.
Clever Girl.
Yes, yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I got
it. Yeah, you got it. You're cool.
I got the reference.
Yes. But yeah, it does have a competition element, which I am still interested in, and it makes it fun. But I do think I'm more interested in kind of the craft of it now than I was like when I was.
Are you writing your own songs, that kind of craft, or just like commanding your own voice kind of craft?
Both, yes. Okay. We're doing some of my originals, which is exciting. Yeah. And that's new as well. I haven't done that in a quartet before. But yeah, also just the vocal kind of tenacity that comes with it. There's just so much to learn. And it's like it's not a precise art form because we're all technically like amateurs at it. And we're all just kind of like, I don't know, you coach with like...
How does one become a professional?
I mean, there are people who are making money at coaching and that kind of thing, but because it's like technically a hobby for all of us. There's a few people that are like making a living at being a barbershopper, and they do it all of the time. But I kind of love that it stays precious as a hobby, even though it is like a bit of a lifestyle.
Okay.
But
Yeah, like you're always in front of a barber shop. You're the pinwheel thing is like an aesthetic.
always,
Where's your
constantly.
tattoo of the
That's next. Yeah,
what's
no,
that
I just
spinning thing?
the barber
Ooh,
pole. No,
yeah,
I just
look at
have
that
a
bicep. You've been working out.
yeah. If you have a
okay, I
tattoo on your
see that.
bicep, thank you.
Yeah.
I lift 4-pound weights, so
Hey, it shows. It shows.
this is new. This is a rattlesnake. So
Okay.
she's with me,
Yeah, always.
always with me.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's
Mhm.
I love how you've integrated that into.
Yes.
You're even wearing the rattlesnake.
Yeah, well, I came for
the
my
snake
gig,
skin.
so I
Oh, right,
was
yeah.
dressed for
Well,
the
someone's
day.
putting you in another box. Look at you. You're like, you got to wear rattlesnake stuff now.
That's right. I don't like to be predictable, so we'll change it up soon.
There's a blanket behind you if you get cold. Just
Thank
throwing
you.
that out there. Want you to be
Appreciate
comfortable. Yeah, I'm picturing like Pitch Perfect type of competition stuff.
Sure.
I mean, and how could you said amateur, but I mean, you're a professional musician. I mean, so I mean, how could you be amateur at this thing? I don't know. I guess where's your line between professional and not non-professional, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it has like changed my relationship with music to become a professional musician, and I'm so like grateful that I get to be a creative for my living. But I also like I think what stays precious about barbershop, like I have a hard time going to concerts anymore where I'm like thinking a lot about like, oh, they look tired from the tour, or like I wonder if that like bass players
traditional rock concerts.
yeah, that kind of thing. I also just I don't like standing at a concert anymore, or like it's too loud for my ears. I got old real fast, but
yeah, I mean, I always wore
yeah, you gotta wear earplugs.
Yeah.
Like I love going to comedy. Like I love to sit and like laugh, but
yeah.
But I have a hard time going to like rock shows anymore. But barbershop kind of stays precious, I think, because it is technically a hobby.
Yeah, you gotta have a passion or a love.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, what's a competition like? Like I said, I'm picturing Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, there's like elements that are true from Pitch Perfect. I think that's a good like it's
all the drama.
There's a little bit of drama, but I think it's a lot more camaraderie than what those
yeah.
movies say. And it is like I think I just went to a different kind of convention. It was more of an educational week. It was called Harmony University that they hold every year. This year it was like down in New Orleans at Loyola, and I got to teach for it. And that was such a different vibe though, because there was not a competition element. It was just like people there who are trying to learn as much as they can about barbershop, which was really sweet. And the atmosphere was a lot more like tender and precious and lovely. Whereas the competition weeks, I think there is a little bit of that Pitch Perfect. Like, we have to win. But at the end of the day, like something pretty amazing about this art form is like I am in these spaces with people and having friendships with people that like I wouldn't meet otherwise. And we get into our bubbles. Those bubbles get smaller as social media kind of curates our social life, I think.
Just social bubble in general.
I think so. And like people that believe what we believe in and vote the way we vote. And like I have a lot of people in this barbershop community that probably vote differently than I do. And yet like we can sing together. And maybe that sounds super like cheesy and earnest, but like,
but I mean, it's also nice.
It's like kind of nice in a way that like I don't know that I have that in the other elements of my life where I'm like, you're a terrible person, and I think it like humanizes people in this way that you're like, oh, but we can like harmonize together.
That is, I mean, you're really doing it. You're
harmony. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very interested in this barbershop thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, we were talking about camaraderie, but I mean, a little bit of competitiveness because don't each individual have their time to kind of shine and solo in a way? And is it like I'm trying to be better? So I was just talking about comedy competitions with a previous guest, and she hates them because she's like, I'm not trying to. I don't go out and think I got to be better than everyone else on the show. She's like, I want to be friends with everybody on this show and just, make the audience happy. Not like, oh, I got to go out and murder.
Yeah.
So is there competitive? Is it hard not to be competitive in that way? Or is it, there's just like no feel of that with your group?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the individual. Like I have mellowed out about it a little bit. Like when I was like in my early 20s and I was competing in contests, I felt much more of that. Like we gotta destroy.
Now you can just use specifically in your group. It's the group as a whole.
Both, yeah. And I even within our group now, I think there's more people that are a little more competitive than others within the four of us. But I mean, I would love to win the contest just because it's like something I've been working towards my whole life in various groups. And when you win, So there's two different organizations. There's the Sweet Adelines, which is like all women.
Okay.
And then the Barbershop Harmony Society, which in recent years has become a mixed organization. So any gender can compete, but it used to be an all-male organization. But in Sweet Adelines, which is the competition we're going to in November, if you win, you get a crown and you become a queen of harmony.
Okay.
And these ladies wear these crowns around. You get inducted to what's called the Coronet Club. And you're queen forever. And you get a gold medal and a crown.
I get that. I totally want that.
I want it.
I want it.
Truly. And so I do want to win that. But I do think like if you get really caught up in like how many points did we get and did we do better than that quartet, it can make it not very fun. And I'm trying to like for my own spirit, like I want to do better as just like a performer and a singer and a crafts person. But
like wisdom and all that jazz.
Sure.
Getting wise as an adult, as you grow as a person.
Yeah. And I can't always say I'm like my best version of that, where like we did a competition in March and we got second. I was mad. I cried.
Well, yeah, you got to crush your enemies.
That's right. It was our first one, so it's fine. But I did. We all cried.
Seconds, there's something.
Second wasn't too bad.
Again. Yeah,
That's
but it's not bad. It's not
the worst.
It's not the worst. That's
place.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very exciting. How does one last thing on
sure
the barbershop? How do they judge? Like, what are the points? How do you get points?
So there's various.
Do they have like a meter and they're like measuring your, your.
That's what makes it tough. So you get like certified as a judge, and you go through a pretty rigorous judging program to get certified. And there's various categories. They vary between the two different societies, but essentially it's like there's a judge for performance, there's a judge for singing, there's a judge for music. That type of thing. And but at the end of the day, like I'm not a judge, so I don't know, and maybe one day I will take that journey, but like you can't be unbiased completely. If sometimes I'm just like I don't like that person's voice, but there's like levels of like this quartet is at this level of like 70% or 80% or 90%, whatever, out of 100 essentially. So like this is an A-level quartet, and my ears are not trained at that level to know exactly like what that is. But they go through rigorous training. But there's always a lot of like debate after these competitions and whatnot.
Sure.
Who knows?
That's the drama part.
That's right. And like everyone's friends and everyone's coaching each other. So I do think like there's no way that you could like watch your friends up there and be like, I didn't do very well. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
No, yeah. It's an interesting subculture to peek in on.
It's like a Christopher Guest film waiting to happen for sure. Like just very niche, like we take it very seriously. But I feel glad that like I'm not so immersed in it to like not remember what this is, which is like an a cappella competition. Like Best in Show. I'm talking Mighty Wind. Those kinds of Christopher Guest movies that are like mockumentaries.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Thanks for asking.
Oh, no, yeah. I was listening to the radio. I've been listening. I have my job. I'm driving around, and there's a table behind you if you want to put that up there. Oh, thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about... the DJ was talking about... It was Nerf on 93.3.
Sure. Nerf.
And he was saying that he likes that rock guitars coming back in like modern rock. He feels like that... He said, and he mentioned, the Lumineers and like Avett Brothers, that like they kind of killed the guitar and rock for a little bit. Did you feel like that in the movement, or did you feel a movement in that with that at all, or is there any thought about that?
Oh, that's so interesting to be called out for that. I mean,
he wasn't like it's the Lumineers' fault or anything. He was just saying that he's talking about the new Fall Out Boy album, which I enjoy, and he was just saying he likes that the guitar is coming back.
I mean, I don't disagree. Like there's some great, like the New that was playing in Denver for a long time. They're a great band, and I love that they were just like a pure rock band. And I used to go see them at like the High Dive and whatnot. And it was just like tall dudes playing the guitar. It was like very cool.
I do feel like In the Whales kept that going. I mean, like
totally.
just heavy guitar, rock stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's something kind of timeless about that, and I think there's something timeless about folk music too. It's almost hard to be like,
I'm not
this
trying to pin
versus this.
About,
but yeah, and actually, I bet the guys from the Lumineers would be like disappointed, because even they didn't like being labeled as like a folk band or an Americana band. Like we went to the Americana Festival or the Americana Awards that are held in Nashville at the Ryman, and everyone was like, what does it mean to you to like be an Americana band? They kept kind of answering that like, are we an Americana band? Like, I don't know what that means. And I think, as we were talking about putting people in boxes, like, no, I think artists don't like that. And
They're
so
like, no, she can't wear a hat.
That's right. Yeah. We're not an Americana band. There's only 2 hats here. But I do think, and actually they made a real effort in the second record and moving forward to not use nearly as many acoustic instruments and to plug in more, which is interesting.
Mumford & Sons did that too.
Totally.
I didn't like that album as much.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So I don't know. It's hard as an artist to kind of reinvent yourself and to be labeled as this thing, even though it's like so lovely to have had that success on
Do you
the
not
thing.
identify with the band anymore? Because it sounds like you're like, okay, they're doing their thing, and like,
yeah, I left in 2018, so it's been a few years now, and even then, like, I wasn't part of the songwriting, and I never felt like my fingerprints were really on the project. Again, I feel like glad to have been part of it, and I was with them for 8 years, and like I met them in their basement.
Yeah.
I wasn't like I met
Yeah,
like
you were
the
there.
famous band, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't really identify with it that much because I don't feel like there's a lot of me in it.
Oh, okay. Was that frustrating? I mean, was there like a Beatles? George. I know I keep bringing the Beatles up.
Please,
that's
I
my
get
like
it.
biggest musical influence.
I mean, it's a
That's
good
the only one I
one.
really know.
A good one to have.
Yeah, thank you. Is there someone like, George Harrison, John Lennon?
I think
Maybe
in
not to
some
that extent,
well,
but-
sure. I'm not going to call myself a Beatle. No, I think at some point I just sort of outgrew it. Like I think I was learning that it was important to me to write songs, and it also was all consuming. I mean, we were on the road like 300 days of the year, and when I started talking about like I've like started writing these songs, I have this new project, there wasn't a lot of support around it, and it was sort of like, well, that's fine, but it can't get in the way of any of this. And so I like did the second record with them and did the touring, but I think I knew like I don't know if this is forever for me, as much as like touring the world and
Was that
playing big
hard?
venues.
Because I mean, it's like I gotta give myself to this, like fully and all that. Well, I mean, even with me, just my certain creative endeavors, it's like if I'm not giving myself to this fully, what am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was hard in that like I knew people were going to think I was crazy. Like I'm a bit of a people pleaser. And so like knowing what other people were going to say, I was like, man, this is like, I'm living the dream of what people work for, and I'm, throwing it away or whatever. But I also gave it 8 years of my life, and it changed my life in this wonderful way. But it was, like I said, all consuming, and like my whole identity and my whole personality. And it's also like spending a lot of time with people that I had grown apart from. And I just felt like it was time to do something different.
Your mom has all new characters, and you don't know when she can get back for Christmas. She's like, I don't know this person.
I don't know this person. What's this bit? Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like you miss holidays, you miss like weddings of, I just was just gone like for 8 years essentially. And, the friends that I still have that I was like friends with before and I'm friends with now, like I'm so appreciative that, they stuck around, but it was a lot of being away.
Yeah, so I mean, let's can we get into a little bit of like, okay, when you wanted to start breaking off and start doing your own thing? Like, how does that?
Yeah.
How did you get that self-confidence to be like, no, I'm gonna take this step?
Yeah, again, at the risk of sounding earnest and cheesy, but like Rattlesnake Kate, like kind of saved me a little bit.
Yeah, what is that for the audience?
Yes. So I didn't even really plan any of this. It just sort of happened again. But
it just seems to things are coming.
So timeline wise, so I had met the Lumineers in 2010. And we toured our first record for 4 years, which is very unrealistic. Usually you do like an 18-month record cycle, but because like it kind of kept catching fire, and then it was like, oh well, now you can go to Australia.
Like a new single hit or in a different place.
And it's just like people kept finding out about it, and like it went like we were playing rooms of 200 people to like 800 people to 1,200 people, like within weeks of each other, and so it just like caught fire really fast, and it was like this sort of snowball effect. But so when we were finally done, I think we ended in South Africa in like the summer of 2014. And I got to go home and just kind of like reassess of like, what am I doing? And at that time, I just was sort of being creative, and I found myself. So Rattlesnake Kate is a Greeley historical figure, and she's notorious because of this strange encounter with a rattlesnake migration. In 1925, she was out on horseback with her 3-year-old son, Ernie, and she hopped off the horse to open a gate and found herself in the midst of a whole heap of rattlesnakes. and thought it was in her best
heap?
interest. A heap.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a funny word.
And she thought it was in her best interest to shoot the snakes to get back to the horse safely. And this, of course, riled up the snakes. And she ran out of bullets. And so, as legend has it, she plucked a no hunting sign from the ground and then started like clobbering these snakes.
Yeah.
It's
a story you hear growing up in Greeley all the
That's
time.
right.
I mean, yeah, like every year it came around, Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like, so the next day she went back and she gathered the skins from the snakes and fashioned herself a flapper style gown. And they've preserved that in the Greeley Museum, where I found out about this story as a college student. So this was like much longer before I actually started writing songs about her, but it was just one of those stories that stuck with me. I thought about her all the time. I dressed up as her for Halloween one year.
Okay, yeah.
And I just kind of got obsessed with her. And so in that downtime after our first record cycle, I just kind of was thinking about that story. And really, like, as a joke, I like started writing songs about it just to like send my friends, just like silly demos. Not at all with a plan to like write a whole record. But I think I'd written like maybe 3 songs. And actually that mischievous friend Brian Gonzalez that I was talking about earlier, Greeley native, or Greeley born and raised, he was like,
prank caller, notorious
prank caller. He was like, what are you doing with these? They're kind of good. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm just like having a good time. And part of it was like, I started learning more about her, and I was going up to Greeley and spending all this time at the museum, digging through their archives that they have in the basement.
Wow. They let you in there?
They let me in there. I think anyone
They're
can.
Like, "You're famous now, come on in."
I didn't drop any names. I just was like, I'm very interested in rattlesnake.
That's cool. Yeah.
And they make you wear like these little gloves, and you go through all these archives, and there were all these letters she had written and like photos and all these things. And I like identified with her as I read through these letters, where I just felt like she was a misunderstood person.
Okay.
And she felt really out of place in like I don't know, just didn't feel like she was very seen and heard. And I was feeling a lot of those things at that time. Kind of in this band that was like not a good fit for me.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. And I just like could not stop thinking about her, and these songs just started like pouring out of me. And I was like, I'm gonna make a record. And but what I really wanted was to make a musical, but those are really hard to make.
You thought of that first.
I did, but I was like, so in my mind, I was like, I want to make
theater, obviously. Yeah, it makes
totally
sense
my theater roots, and I just thought the storytelling lent itself really well to that medium. And I didn't really know how to concoct that though. So I was like, well, I've been touring with this band forever. I know how to like go into a studio and make a record and go on tour with it. So that was just my plan.
Yeah.
But I had limited time because I knew like we had to go back on tour, and
they're gonna sit you back in that chair.
That's right. Take off my hat.
Yeah.
Sit me in that chair. And so I just like started like making sure I had all my ducks in a row, so that like at the end of our second record cycle, I was just going to be ready to like fire out of the gates. And at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do in terms of Lumineers, but I knew that I wanted to release my own record. And I think partly just like it felt so good to write my own songs and to kind of be the boss of me in a lot of ways. Because even though like Wessinger and I, we were like equal part owners of the Lumineers, the 3 of us like were supposedly like on equal footing. We weren't. And they made it very clear, like they never wanted to collaborate in terms of songwriting. And that just felt hard. It felt like in any job, if you're like, there's nowhere for me to grow from here. Yeah. I wasn't singing at all, which is like my favorite thing to do. And it just felt like if I can't do both of these things, I don't know that I'm going to be able to stay in this band forever and ever.
Yeah.
With the amount of touring we're doing and just like the amount of like my identity that was wrapped up in it that didn't feel true to who I was at all.
Yeah, it has to be, because it's like all of a sudden on the world stage,
yes,
like, be happy. You should be. This is the culmination of everything you've ever wanted, right?
Totally,
like,
yeah. And so there came a point that I just felt like, I couldn't grow anymore. And so in the midst of touring our second record, I was like flying when we'd have like 4 days off and like flying to go record my record, and I recorded it in Portland, because Oregon, yes, not Maine. I was a huge fan of M. Ward, who's like a wonderful folk artist, and has like these.
Not Americana.
I mean, you could put him in that category, but I don't know. He might identify as an Americana artist, but I just love his records, and they felt very like within the realm of how I wanted my record to sound. And so I just like got a meeting with him and sent him some really crappy demos, and we like had breakfast together in New York City, and he was like, yeah, I'd love to produce your record. And it was the best fit. He just was so like lovely and gentle, like validating all of my ideas while still like bringing in gently his ideas that made the record so much better, of like stuff that doesn't come out of my brain. I think that's what's so wonderful about working with a producer or a collaborative atmosphere, is like, here's what I can bring. And so it was like I think it could have gone such a different way if I had worked with the wrong producer, someone who was like really bossy or just kind of didn't let my vision come through.
Somebody who can kind of shepherd it
yes,
in a way.
totally.
I just read that Rick Ross book. I listened
yes.
to the audiobook. But yeah, all these things are kind of clicking for me. He talks about, letting these ideas come to you and then coming out in the form that they want to be.
Totally.
Like you thought about musical theater, but you knew how to do a record. So you did the record first, and then that fed into musical theater. I mean, it's all flowing like a river.
Totally.
Or a rattlesnake, whatever you want.
That's right. Slithering through.
I don't like that. I don't like that. Snakes are hard for me.
Yeah.
They're, that's evolution.
That's right.
Brother.
That's right. Brother.
Yeah, it just says Americana is a music genre that encompasses traditional music styles, including folk, country,
it's
bluegrass,
a very
blues.
catch-all phrase.
Yeah,
I think it's fine to be labeled that.
Sure.
Folk music.
Thank you for saying that.
Catch-all.
Yeah, it's a catch-all. Yeah. So the role of producer is really interesting.
I want to read that Rick Ross book too.
Oh, it's so good. I actually have a copy if you want it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's yours, baby.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
free gifts with the podcast.
That's what you get on Left Hand Right Brain here.
That's right.
Not all the time. Okay. I love music videos, and I watched the Lumineers ones, and the one you made for Train is so fun and cute with the Muppets, or not the Muppets, but like all that.
Kind of Muppety, right?
Yeah, it's like got a Muppety vibe.
Love
right?
that. Yeah,
because it's like flower.
yes.
Let's talk about that. How do why make a music video?
Yeah, that's a good question in
are they
today's.
important in this? I love them.
That's a great question. I mean, they are sort of like a passion project of all the promo you do, and ideally, like if you're working with a label, they help pay for that.
Which is just a promo for the album, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
truly.
music videos were all just commercials for the album, or tour or whatever.
Exactly. And I mean, I think like, I'm gonna say something really gross in industry, but like content is king.
Yeah, dude.
And so,
Sorry,
the more content is king, and I mean, I think the more kind of, it's so hard to make noise on the internet to like catch anybody's attention, and so I think music videos can be a great way to do that. And that, like, it was so special. My friend Liza just like art directed all of it, and that's what she does for a living. But I also just know her. I met her on Craigslist.
Oh, interesting.
We were roommates in Denver around that same time, like 2010. And she and her roommate placed an ad that said, Mary-Kate and Ashley looking for a triplet.
Interesting.
I was like, these are my people. So I lived with them briefly, but we ended up becoming like great friends. And then she moved out to LA, and like, it's always just been like one of the most creative, wonderful people I've ever known. And so when I was looking to make a music video, I was like, I would love to collaborate with this like great friend. And she built the set out of like garbage and cardboard and dollar store items. And basically we tried to do everything like as inexpensively as possible. But it just turned out like so beautiful and, I don't know, charming. And
Train?
It's called Train, yes. And and it was just fun to like be able to do it with a friend, but she also did like amazing work.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of hesitancy like in the Lumineers to be cutesy at all.
To not be cutesy?
Yeah. They had no interest in ever being cutesy. And I think this video is like
I
the
love
cutest.
This. I mean, it's like, using simple things and but I mean so effectively. I mean, this is theater right here. I mean, this is how it goes. Yeah. Got a hat?
Got a
hat. I'm
hat.
gonna wear a hat. Yeah, I think it's very fun, and it's so fun.
Thank you.
Where did you shoot it?
We shot it in LA, just kind of in a little like studio space. I think it was called Electric Pony Studios.
Okay, yeah.
And it was just like such a great day, and it was like so many women were on set. Yeah, one day shoot. It was a long day, and we had just like a lot of women working on it, and it just felt really fun.
No, yeah, that's it. I mean, I think it shows in the video because I like it's. I mean, it's not like biggest budget or anything, but it's simple.
Sure.
It's fun. I like
Thank
it.
you.
That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate that.
And I know music videos.
Well, you do.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you. Come see Comedy Save the Video Star, October 21st.
Ooh, where's that going to be?
It's at Western Sky Bar and Tap Room. All right, tickets $5 on Eventbrite.
Oh my
Or just show up,
gosh,
really.
that sounds
We just want
great.
people there.
Yes,
Yeah, we
Western
watch
style.
and riff over music videos.
That sounds
And do some
wonderful.
comedy. Yeah.
All right,
Uh,
I'm there.
all right. Well, there you go. You heard it here. Guaranteed. Not maybe. No money back if she doesn't show up, and that's what you were expecting. No, yeah. So definitely a different experience than making a Lumineers music video. I mean, because the one where the lights are strung around everywhere. It's kind of black and white. Different experience, I guess.
Yes. Part of it was like the first one we made, Hohei, was we were heavily involved in. It was like a 16-hour shoot. And same thing. It was like early on, so we were like trying to get a lot of bang for our buck.
Yeah, in that time, music videos were really dying. I feel like because MTV was no longer as big as it was. The juggernaut and YouTube hadn't.
It wasn't quite what it is now. Yeah. And
was that like a weird feeling? They're like, should we make a music video? Should we not?
Yes, and I think our managers were very adamant about it, and they were smart in that way because, like, especially at that time when we didn't have music out. Any way for people to get the content was important.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, it was like pre kind of Instagram being big, and like we just put stuff out so differently, which is a double-edged sword because it's hard for there's so many famous people now.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, in the presence of one right now, but
I feel the same way.
There's just so many it's hard to make a splash when there's so much content being put out. So but I think after Hohei, we didn't have a lot of involvement, partly because we were so busy. And so it's like the less we were involved in the music video process, because we just didn't have time, the better.
Mm-hmm.
But it did become a little bit contentious on the second record because I think Wes just kind of decided what was going to happen with those music videos. And then it felt like, oh, wait, but are we going to be involved? And there was just some breakneck speed problems that happened with the band where in some ways it's what had to happen that someone needed to take the initiative, but the other side was like, oh, but now we're not all involved in the creative process, and it was just hard.
Yeah. Different beast for sure.
Different beast.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll get into some of these lightning round questions, okay? All meant to be in fun.
Love it. Rattlesnake Kate was struck by lightning. True fact.
Damn.
I know.
A lot happened to her in her life.
A lot happened to her.
What did you find in those personal letters you were reading? I mean, was this any juicy goss?
So much juicy goss.
Let's hear it.
So she kept a 40-year love letter correspondence with a colonel in Iowa.
Wow.
There's a song on the album called Letters. He was married. Spoiler alert. And he promises over and over to come visit her.
Oh, wow.
And at some point is like, well, I'm actually married. But you can send the letters to a P.O. box so my wife doesn't find out. But instead of doing that, she just starts writing him and his wife and is like, Dear Mr. and Mrs. But there's a song on the record called Letters that's a duet between the colonel. Her name was Colonel Charles D. Randolph. But yeah, I mean, things like she was struck by lightning. She was married and divorced 6 times.
Whoa.
She talks a lot about farming, though. I mean, I think it was she was unwilling to compromise who she was, which would be hard regardless, but especially at that time, she was not a submissive woman. And in the 1920s,
they were do what I say.
Yeah, and she wanted things done a certain way. She would hire these people to come help her on her farm of 160 acres and then be like, oh, they can't do it right. I'm just going to do it myself and fire them. So
yeah. Now, maybe not a good boss, huh?
Maybe not a good boss. Not good at delegating. I feel that.
Yeah. Well, you I know you're married now, right? When did that happen for you? I mean, was that in the whirlwind? Was it before the?
It was right in the middle of the whirlwind.
Oh, okay. When you started doing the Rattlesnake Snake journey.
Yes, that's right. We did. Yeah, we met around 2014. We actually re-met
in the Rattlesnake Cave basement. You're both reading letters.
We were actually pen pals. No, we knew each other as children because my husband grew up playing cello as well, and we were in the Colorado Youth Symphony Orchestra together. And he was my middle school crush. Okay. We weren't competing. We were just stand partners. Okay. But it was an outside of school orchestra that met on Monday nights. So it was true orchestra.
Way as a kid. Yeah. Outside of school stuff.
Yeah. And so serious about orchestra that you're
anybody.
That's right.
You could really show off and do what
Ooh, don't show off. Don't do it. You're going to get that Dr. Pepper can. And so I didn't see him for many, many years. And then we reconnected through a mutual friend. I don't know if you know Haley Wells that went to UNC as well. She's a comedian.
Familiar, but really?
She does comedy now out in LA.
Okay.
But she's great. But she was home for the holidays and she knew him from high school and me from college and invited us both out, not knowing that we knew each other. And he was like, "Oh, I know you're from Cello Club, right?" And I was like, "Yes." And he, speaking of grounded people, like he's born and raised here in Colorado as well, and he's a very chill person, and he knows like he's married to a tornado person. And
Is
he's
that
like,
how you describe yourself?
I do, truly. I'm not the easiest person to be married to. And he's very calm and a good cheerleader and like has no desire to be in this career at all. Like does not like to be the center of attention, doesn't even like compliments.
Sounds right up your alley.
Yeah.
No showing off.
That's right. No
He's the
showing off.
personification of that game for you.
I've never really thought about that.
Oh,
You're
really?
so right. He's the opposite of a show off. So we've been together for almost 10 years and married for about 5.
I mean, if he's not showing off a little bit, how do you get your attention?
I mean,
this tornado, how does he?
That's a
how
great
do you get
question. It's because I knew him in middle school.
Okay. So he had an in.
He had an in.
You
Yeah.
just have to wait 14 years or whatever.
Yes. But we're both like wildly independent. And we started dating when I was like touring like a mad woman. And so we've had like already
Long
kind of
distance.
Yeah. And he was working from home at that time. So
You're
he'd
like,
come
"I'm in
out.
China."
That's right. Basically. And he was like okay with not hearing from me and vice versa. And we still kind of
Man.
operate that way, that we're just very.
What a strong individual to be like, I'm okay to not hear from this person.
I know. I kind of require
You
it
get a little
though.
jelly? You want him to get a little jelly? I mean,
I
like,
think
hey man,
it's
I'm in
good.
China and all these guys are home.
I kind of like to be left alone.
Oh, yeah,
if
okay.
I'm being honest.
I wasn't saying anything, I'm just-
I have to recharge as an introvert,
Sure,
so
okay.
I like to not be bothered.
Gotcha.
I'm not
And he
fun to
won't
be
do
married
that.
to.
You
Yeah.
won't bother me.
He won't bother me. He just lets me do my thing. I'm a pretty wild
yeah,
person,
yeah.
so it's wonderful.
Yeah, you're doing a lot, so
Yes,
you have to have a fire
that's right.
for sure.
That's
Do
right.
you find yourself getting worn out or anything like that, or do you how do you rekindle that or keep that energy going? 'Cause that's it, like you said, you're doing a lot.
Yeah, I did. I got really burnt out right before the pandemic. I played a show at the Bluebird in like November of 2019.
Oh yeah, that sounded cool. I heard that on an interview you did.
Oh,
I was
great.
doing research.
Thanks for
You
that.
said it was like a variety show. You had a comedian.
Yes.
things
Yeah.
like that.
Comedian Chris Fleming. He's amazing.
Okay.
He has a special on Peacock right now.
Oh,
Just
okay.
came out. He's like an amazing comedian. A great barbershop quartet called the Newfangled
Okay.
Four. Also very funny. Crazy for them.
Funny.
And then
How's a quartet funny? Just curious.
just Google them.
Like funny lyrics.
They make funny lyrics.
Okay.
They make funny jokes in between, and they're like one of the funniest. There's not all of the quartets are always funny, but I think they're like the funniest one.
Do you think that's something your quartet could do to kind of rise?
We're
to kinda,
trying.
like, do some slapstick.
Yeah.
You fall over. I'm
Yes.
thinking Three Stooges kind
Totally.
of stuff. Just 'cause of
Doink in the eyes.
yeah.
Maybe I'll just try it, see what happens.
Yeah. I'm putting the medium in a box. I mean, is it
That's
not?
right.
It's not you guys in big suits.
No,
Okay.
no, not with the little
I
straw
say you guys,
hats.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you ladies, you gals.
Yes. we don't wear the traditional barbershop garb, but we like to match.
Do people do that?
They do. There's a quartet called Main Street that wears like very traditional barbershop outfits, but usually it's just like 4 matching outfits. But nowadays people are not even matching anymore, just kind of all over the place. But the trouble with being a funny quartet though is that like then people expect that from you. It's like the Newfangled Four.
Okay.
They have to like be funny always now because they're so funny, and they can't just like get on stage and sing a beautiful song anymore. People
Yeah,
are like,
yeah.
"But where's the jokes?"
Yeah, I feel that all the
I'm
time.
sure you show up at a party and people are like, "Be funny, do it."
Yeah. Just anywhere, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry. Yeah. So you had a barbershop quartet.
Had a
you had
barbershop
comedian.
quartet, and then Blue Book. That's a great local band of like really witchy gals. They're so
Ooh.
lovely.
Oh yeah. Have you been dabbling in the witchcraft?
Oh yes,
Coven stuff.
I like to do a little hex here and there.
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
That's
I
scary to
have
me, but I'm open to it.
Don't worry, you're on my good side, but
Okay. Whew.
don't cross me.
I won't.
I'll prank you.
I'll run all the clips by you before I put them
That's
out.
right. That'd be great. No, it was wonderful, and like talk about like my fingerprints on something. Like it was so clearly from my brain,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. But it was I didn't delegate well. Not good at delegating, and it burnt me out a little bit. And I was like calling it my retirement show, where I was like, I'm never doing one of these again. This is crazy. And I still had like the musical was gonna happen, and I knew, but that like was such a different world of things.
Back then.
Yes. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, oh, I may never play live music again. This is really
Wow,
scary.
I thought you had, huh?
I don't know. Things felt so weird at that time. And like, are people ever going to get in a theater together again? Of course we did, and it's fine. But I just played like my first big show like that
This
again
morning.
this morning at Potato Day.
Yeah, Potato Day.
on
It's your
June
big comeback.
on June 30th, I played like a big EP release show at Swallow Hill.
Okay.
And I didn't go as all out. I just had like one wonderful opener, Wes Watkins, who's a trumpet player in town.
Yeah, I've heard it. He was the Nathaniel Rateliff.
Yes,
He was
exactly.
associated with them.
Yes.
Not anymore.
Yeah, wonderful
I've seen
musician.
him in a couple different things.
If you've seen him, you'll never forget him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
always in like an amazing outfit, great musician, and just like a cool person.
Yeah.
But I had like a choir on it, and I still like I decorated the stage. I still like did a lot, but it was wonderful.
Wow, yeah, you're getting your hands dirty.
I can't
stuff
go
like that.
halfway on these
That's
things.
the musical theater person.
I
You gotta be in there
know
working
it.
on the set.
Absolutely.
You're not just a talent. You
You
know?
can't just show up and sing the songs. It's got to be an
Some people do.
experience.
I mean, I don't think Pink's
know.
out there, working on her sets. Sorry.
Maybe
I
she
know she's
used
coming
to,
town
though.
So that's who I was just like, maybe.
Pink's got people
Probably
for that
not.
now. She's
Yeah.
delegating.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah,
it
it's a learning
was just
experience.
wonderful.
You're learning
Yeah.
what where you should put your energy and all that jazz.
Yes. And so yeah, I guess to answer your question, I'm trying to get out of that habit of like I have to say yes to everything, but like I still do. Like I went to Potato Day this morning.
Yeah.
It was great. But you never know what's gonna lead to what, and I have a little bit of still that like
You
hustler
say yes to
mentality.
everything kind of thing.
I kinda
is- I mean, that's
do.
how you got into where you are. I
I
mean, how could you? I
know.
mean, you don't just turn that off. I think
That's
a
right.
way of being.
Yes. And I like to be busy. I get kind of blue when I'm twiddling my
Okay.
thumbs. But I do like TV a lot, so
Yeah.
I'll never be bored.
Yeah, I heard you talking about the HBO Sunday lineup.
Yes.
Yeah, one of those pods or interviews.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, all those shows are done now. So what do you?
I
watching?
know. I just watched The Bear, which I
Okay,
really
yeah,
loved.
Yes, chef.
Yes, Chef. That was really.
I worked in restaurants for a long time, so I just
Yeah.
kind of roll my eyes at the idea.
I had
they'd
a
all be
hard
hooked on
time.
cocaine.
Yeah.
They'd all be being so mean to each other. No one would be supportive.
That's right. They're like therapized chefs, but I mean, there's still drama. But
I
they're
mean,
like,
yeah.
I do hear you.
Yeah.
But the
that's
acting's just so
how it goes.
good.
Oh yeah, so
I liked that a lot. I like a lot of trashy stuff too. Like I like to watch like The Housewives and
Right.
garbage as
It's about
well.
Wheel of Time. Have you gotten into that at
No,
all?
Wheel of
It's like
Time.
witchy stuff a little bit.
Okay.
Women have the power and all that jazz.
I love all those things.
Yeah, you should check it out.
All right.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, love it.
Yeah.
All right,
That's just been my one show right now because
great.
everything else is not going right now. Anyway,
Yes, we're in a bit of a lull.
yeah, you get it.
Mhm.
All right, yeah, all meant to being fun here with these lightning round questions.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be one word, but kind of first thing off your head. Okay, but last thing, sorry, and I've been getting distracted. It has to be so cool that you have these opportunities to come back and then just put on shows the way you want, things like that.
Yes.
I mean, that has to be what a privilege.
It truly is. And I think knowing that about myself, that I like doing that also as much as I get overwhelmed, but like I kind of like to be bossy.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I mean, I run my own podcast.
That's
I mean,
right.
Come on.
You're the boss of
I
you.
mean, that's one of the things I like about comedy too. Is like I go up and I say whatever I want.
Yes.
It doesn't always go well.
I'm sure it goes great every time.
Thank you. All right. Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Oh no. I think I am
Just like an elementary school, the premise right there.
Yes. I am. I'm a juxtaposition because I always want to be nice and I'm a people pleaser, but I want to be the boss and I want to like have my way. I always talk about it's like my Virgo and my Libra combating, or like my Slytherin and my Hufflepuff. I'm a Slytherpuff, where like I'm ambitious and I want my way, but like I really want to be nice. So I'm a juxtaposition.
Is that hard sometimes because you can't always get your way and be nice? I mean, they don't always
Extremely.
go.
Yes,
Otherwise, you stay in a band for 8 years.
that's
know?
right. Exactly.
No, I mean,
That's what
I'm just
therapy's
joking
for.
around. Yeah. Have you done a lot?
I've done a lot of therapy.
Me too,
Yes.
yeah.
Continue
Yeah.
to.
It's great. I
Would-
think everybody should do it.
I would recommend
Everybody
it.
could benefit.
Yes.
What makes you so great?
What makes me so great? Oh my God. Well, I'm not a show off, so I'd never admit to being great.
Right.
But I think I've kept a lot of people in my life that I've known for a long time. Like we talked about my sister. She's a great person and she's really grounded. And if I like turned into an asshole, she would have been the first person to be like, Neyla, what is happening? And so I think being in that whirlwind of like my life changing so quickly, you can get wrapped up in like thinking you're really great in a very superficial way. And I think I've had a lot of people in my life to keep me on the planet of like, this is all fleeting. And as many people that come out of the woodworker and are like, oh my God, I knew you from this.
Yeah.
They vanish very quickly as well. And so keeping the constants is important.
Was there some times where someone was like, hey, you're getting a little, thinking you're a little too high on the horse here?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
My sister specifically, like,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was like more like, I just feel like you don't
pulled
care
out
about me
the
that
can
much.
and all that jazz.
She pulled out the Dr. Pepper, the tote
Your
bag.
mom did a whole character. You didn't like. She's like, that's you. no, I'm just
I think like my sister sort of said like I feel like you don't care about me as much as
Oh,
like
well,
these
that's-
peripheral people. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
and it
that
made me
has
a
to be
better
hard.
person. It was a hard
That's hard,
conversation and it made me so much better.
I mean, yeah, who couldn't get caught up in the whirlwind? You know,
Yes,
I mean, that's the whole thing.
It's
I mean,
challenging.
yeah, only a handful of people have ever experienced something like that, and you know, all that
Sure.
jazz. It had to be crazy.
It was wild. Yeah.
What motivates you?
Just a little bit of anxiety.
Okay, all right.
I actually I went on medication kind of recently. A
Oh.
little dose of Lexapro.
Okay.
And I was worried that like that would take away that sort of like the anxiety that gets me out of bed in the morning, but it's just like turned the volume down a little bit.
Anxiety that gets you up in the morning. Ah, God.
And it's true. It's been life changing. Like I would also recommend if that is a path people want to go on, because I was scared for years it would like make me numb or not creative.
Yeah. That's what you hear.
Yes.
In, you know, media or whatever.
And
about those things.
and I think you do have to find the right fit. And I got lucky that like I just found something that worked right away, and it might not work forever, but I'm like 6 months in and I feel so much more capable.
Lexapro is a
It's an anti-anxiety antidepressant, I suppose. I have a little bit of both, which is fun. But I think the world we live in, probably everybody has a little bit of those things. And I would recommend asking some more questions about it if you're curious, because I do feel like that anxiety has now been like the volume's turned down.
Oh, interesting.
But I still feel motivated and not at all like numb or not creative.
I mean, there must have been a worry of like, I'm not going to be as creative, and things like that. I mean,
yeah, or like that
that's
anxiety
that's your
fuels
thing.
my art or something. And actually, I feel like I'm doing a lot more work right now than I was 6 months ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, right on. That's
Yeah.
great. Are you an artist?
Visual artist,
Are you
or just
just
an
an
artist?
artist in
An artist. I would describe myself that way. Yes.
Do you? I mean, a lot of people bring that up. They're like, I don't paint, I don't draw.
Oh, sure.
I mean, is that what you think of when you think of art?
No, I think all the mediums, music, writing, all of those things. And especially because it's a lifestyle. Like I have to like
Ooh,
take
is it?
time. Yes. And I think especially in finding a partnership, like making your partner aware of like what they're getting into with being with an artist. So like I'm going to spend a lot of time by myself. I have to like put my work first a lot of the time.
That's hard.
Yeah, I think it takes a patient person.
Yeah, it's nice that he understands that.
Yes, for sure.
That's something he talks about in that Rick Rubin book.
Yeah.
Was that he worked with an artist whose like family just knows whenever if he gets an idea or he gets inspired, he gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
Like if it's like Christmas dinner, if it's whatever, like this is how he
Yeah.
works.
It's
And they
hard to
just
find those
understand.
boundaries, but yeah, I think the other hard thing about being an artist is there's not a clock. It's not like a 9 to 5 where you just like check out. That sometimes at Christmas dinner you have an idea. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that has to be so hard. Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to balance, time with my wife, things like that.
Yeah.
I want to spend all the time with her that I can and things like that. So sometimes it is hard. I feel guilty. Do you feel that way at all?
Oh, I always feel guilty, just like low grade guilt. It's really great. No, I do. I feel a lot of guilt about that because it's like it feels selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know about. I'm not saying
Yes.
it's selfish for you. No, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to not feel. It's like, well, I could go and watch Wheel of Time with my wife, or I'm going to go to a mic. Or
Yes,
whatever,
totally.
I mean, but that's a blessing that you don't have to go out and like do those kinds of things.
Not as much.
Yeah.
But again, I can't stop saying yes to
Yeah,
everything.
I mean,
so.
potato days, baby. You gotta get out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love that idea that art is a lifestyle. Can we speak more a little bit about that? I mean, just like,
yes.
has that been hard? Do you like that? How do you craft your life around that?
Yeah, I think sort of like accepting it a little bit, that it's not a hobby. I don't know if you've ever done the artist's way.
Yeah, the morning pages.
Yeah,
I mean,
the morning pages.
I've heard about it a lot.
Yeah, I did it through the pandemic, and it was really it was like such a perfect time to have done it. 'Cause you can kind of it got to slow down, but I still keep the morning pages in my daily routine, and I think it puts some structure into my day. But it is and especially it's hard when you're juggling, a life job as well, a sustainability job. But carving out time to, go to the open mic or whatever to improve your craft. And I think it becomes like this extra person in your life, that you do have to put it before sometimes friendships or marriages or kids or whatever. And that can be really challenging, but I think it's sort of a necessary.
Yeah. I always feel torn sometimes because in comedy they talk about like, oh, you have to sacrifice to the comedy gods. You have to go to the altar and like bleed on it. I mean, that's part. Sometimes that's what going to lines there at fucking midnight to do an open mic feels like sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
So I mean, it's a little dramatic, but I'm dramatic, so I'm nothing if
you're
not
in good
a
company.
drama queen. I mean, yeah. So you have to give to the comedy gods, kind of a thing. At least that's how I don't know. I would like to get away from that, maybe, but that whole thing about the muse has to find you working, kind of a thing. Do you feel like there's where does creativity come from for you? Is it like a muse visiting you, or do you think it's you're bringing it?
I think there's a little bit of both, and I try to like have creativity in my life in terms of like experiencing things. I've tried to, like, my word of the year is to be intentional. And so I'm trying to experience things that like in an intentional way that
Just
I'm trying.
A couple months left with that.
That's right.
Almost done.
Thank goodness. But yeah, it's like that's the other part of the artist way is like you're supposed to go on an artist date every week. And I don't do it every week, but like going, and it can be anything from like going to a museum by yourself to like taking a walk in the park and listening to a record. But the idea is to like be intentional about it and to, if you can unplug, that's really nice, or whatever the case may be. When I'm writing, like right now I'm working on a new musical about a lady magician, real person again, like another historical badass lady. Her name's Adelaide Herman. And she's really cool and like magic. So it's like very, that's going to be awesome. Very scary.
I was raised Catholic, which me.
Great.
Yeah, so all that triggers me.
Yeah, careful, don't dabble in the dark arts.
Well, my wife, she has a wreath over our door, and that scared me. She I have a whole joke about my wife being in the coven.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
great.
I'll tell you later.
Okay, great. But it's I've been collaging a lot and like making. I don't know. I just like sometimes it feels like a waste of time, but I think it's so good when you're like trying to be creative and like writing or whatever. Sometimes you hit a break or whatever, and I like to do some collaging and some visual art. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, or like I try to listen to music like from the time period I'm writing about, or like I do a playlist that even if it's not from the time period, like I have a playlist right now about that just songs that I think of as I'm writing, like that Fiona Apple song, like that has some pizzicato strings in it that I'm thinking about. I'm gonna put that on the playlist, or like that has I don't know, this Edith Piaf song has a really cool chord progression. I'm gonna put that in the playlist. And so everything that you're kind of intentionally putting towards the project.
Yeah, I thought the Rattlesnake soundtrack had like a very doo-wop.
Oh yeah,
like
I just like love
thing to me.
I love doo-wop songs and like
I do love that as well.
Yeah,
I do hate that. Like I said, I've been listening to the radio log. It's my job. I have to. You're not supposed to plug in your phone or anything to the radio. And I'm driving around all day. There's no like oldie station anymore.
Yeah, Cool 105's gone.
Well, it's different. Yeah, it's like all 80s.
Yeah.
I thought Lady Gaga was playing on
oh my God.
the oldie station.
No
I was
way.
like, come on.
Good times, great oldies.
I know,
Cool 105.
I know. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that Motown stuff.
Right.
There's no station for that.
That's really disappointing.
Very disappointing.
Maybe we'll start one.
Start our own radio station?
Just oldies.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Something I thought was interesting is you talked about how you had to be very intentional with your songwriting for the play because, the chorus had to push the story forward.
Yes.
Is that something, well, you're writing another musical play right now, right?
Yes.
A play put to music.
Mm-hmm.
So is that, I don't know. Do you find that you like working within those parameters or is it horribly frustrating?
No, I kind of love the parameters. Okay. And like in general, I try to actually find more parameters, like in terms of like rhyming, or I sometimes like play hangman with when I'm songwriting, where it's okay, this verse had this many syllables in it, so I want that to match. So I have this many syllables to work with, and there's the rhyme scheme I'm working with, because otherwise it's like so broad. I think what was hard about the musical is like everything was picked apart of like this word here like doesn't serve this, and that was hard.
Yeah, that would be so hard.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's the case with like every creative team, but the one I worked with, bless them, but they were like meticulous about that, because you just want to be clear, and and
it's your baby.
Yeah, for sure.
They're poking at your baby.
Yeah, and it was hard. I wasn't like, this is devastating, but
Yeah,
it was a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very mathematical. I mean,
Yes.
I guess music is math in a way, so
Yeah, I
I
can
like
feel that
that.
way, that there's like an equation sometimes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that how you think of approach most of your songs?
Sometimes, yeah. It's song by song, really. Like I have this song called Western Woman that ends my Rattlesnake record, and it's just like 3 chords that like are not in like a key together. And it's like nothing rhymes really, and it's just kind of free flowing. There's not a chorus. I've never written another song like that. And yet like that was like the basis of a lot of the musical. Like those 3 chords like appeared so often and ended up being sort of this like anchor. There's something about like the 3 chords that are played that like evoke the Old West immediately. And so I think it varies song by song, but I tend to write with a little more structure than that.
Can people find this play anywhere? Is it coming out? So I mean, we've been talking about it so much.
Yes.
I mean, is there if anybody wanted to check it out, where could they find that stuff?
There is no way to like watch the musical, unfortunately, right now. We hope there's another
Support live
production.
theater.
That's right. We had a 6-week run of it here in Denver in 2022.
Let's pick at the DCPA to bring it back.
That's right.
Yeah,
and so we hope it goes somewhere else. So if you are like a Broadway producer with a space that wants to produce a big giant Broadway show, we're ready.
My backyard. We could
Yeah,
do it
let's
there.
do it.
You gotta work with what you got.
That's right. But I did so in writing the show, I had like 13 songs on the Rattlesnake album, and then I had to write like a dozen more for the show. So I just took 5 of those and put them on a new EP that's called Western Woman that I released in June. And it was kind of funny to go backwards in that way, where like these were written for the show. And so when I started recording them, some of them like sounded so cheesy, or like this made so much sense in the context of the musical. And they may still sound cheesy to some ears, but part of it was I went back to M. Ward, my same producer, and he like put all these cool guitars all over them. And I was like, all right, he fixed it.
I definitely gotta check that one out.
Yeah.
Is that out on like wherever you get
Yes,
music?
it's on the Spotify,
Wherever
the
you
Apple
get
Music.
music,
That's right. And I'll have
you
physical
kids.
vinyls very soon as
Ooh.
well if you're a vinyl person. I'll have those on my Bandcamp in the coming weeks.
Sweet. Okay. Well, make sure we want to get to the important ones. Yeah, we talked about motivation. The correct answer was spite, but yeah.
Oh, great. Anxiety, spite, guilt. I like all those.
Yeah, we did pie or cake. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Did we talk we talked about what is art?
What is art?
Yeah. What is art? There we go.
I mean, we talked about the artist and like visual art versus other things, but I mean, I guess art is like creativity. I think art is challenging because it is like, I always hear people talking about like this is good and this is bad. And the people that make those decisions are often not artists, like who make those decisions on a mainstream level or like push projects forward are often like not the artists.
Yeah.
So that's kind of challenging, but I don't know. I think art's anything from like a prank phone call to like baking a cake.
Prank phone call. Yeah, what were these pranks? I was curious. Like, was it just like your refrigerator's running? I mean, did you have ongoing gags?
I had a few characters. Did you ever go to that bar in Greeley called AF Ray's? It was like it was kind of a music venue / bar, and they had skee ball.
Next to Wing Shack.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I used to prank as AF Rays. Like AF Rays would call people and be like, "I'm AF Rays. Come on over and play some skee ball." So like things like that. There was also like a kid who forgot his lunch who was calling his dad like, "Dad, I forgot my lunch and now I gotta eat a hot lunch and it's chalupas and I'm so upset." I had a burner phone for a while that I was pranking on a burner phone, or like
and selling drugs with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. I got it at Walgreens. It's like, where are your burner phones? This is important. Anyway, I haven't pranked in a while, so.
Did you go to the hookah bar a lot? I mean, that's where I met everybody.
Yeah, Jake Tiva.
I was trying to work my game at every hookah lady in the hookah bar.
Sure, that's where all the cool girls hung out.
Yeah, that's where I met Sam P. That's where I met Joanna. That's where I met Stephanie.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that we, have a good frame of reference.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was the only thing to do in Greeley if you were under 21.
Totally.
Which, was my prime time there.
Yes. Same. Yeah. I didn't do a lot of hookah bar, but I did. That crew was like adjacent. AF Rays.
AF Rays. I think it's still there, right? There's like a music venue there.
I think so. I don't know.
So. Yeah. I think a lot of things moved over to the Moxie now.
Yeah. I have played there a couple times. It's actually wonderful.
Yeah. It's a great spot.
They really take care of their artists.
Twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's great.
Last one. What's your problem?
What's my problem? Oh, so many problems.
I mean, is anything hurt? I mean, you're Your tattoo's still healing?
Still healing on the tattoo. No, that's not a problem. I am too concerned with people liking me. That's my problem.
Too concerned?
Yeah, I'm too
You
concerned.
feel like you could be too concerned with that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I'm trying to be less concerned that like I'm not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other,
I try to embrace that as well.
besides being intentional, I think I'm not for everyone is my other mantra I'm trying to believe in.
Like that.
But I'm just such a like, oh, please like me.
I get that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being
Oh
on.
my
I mean, this
gosh.
has been great. Yeah.
What a treat.
I'm glad we made it happen. Thank
Me
you so
too.
much.
Real
And,
pleasure.
Yeah. I usually let the guests sign us off however they see fit, but I will say Wakanda forever, be excellent to each other, and yeah, have the culmination of the experience for you.
Ah, what a treat.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Do we give out your socials where people can find you? Things
Yes, it's at Neyla Pekarek on all of the things. Like I said, my album and EP are both streaming on all of the things as well, and I'll have some shiny vinyls coming soon.
like that? Nice. Thank you.